Hello, I'm Trevor Fiala. I'm a DC at St. Paul Lutheran Church and School in Peachtree City, Georgia, and I've been asked to talk about what active discipleship has looked like in my life since moving to the beautiful Southeast. I've been here in Peachtree City for a little bit over a year, but before moving here, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, the Lutheran motherland. I went to college in Seward, Nebraska, the other Lutheran motherland. I did a semester swap with Concordia, Austin, and then I completed my DC internship in Tacoma, Washington. And needless to say, I've gotten really good at moving and cramming everything I own into my car. And I've loved all the different places that I've moved to because it has allowed me to meet and then stay connected with many different people. I'm still in contact with my friends from middle school, from high school, from college, and my friends from Washington. We all know that Jesus taught about the importance of having a Christian community, but even the Son of God walked and talked with 12 close friends. And we too need a group of friends who we can talk to, be honest with, and it will support us in our daily faith journey. But what about this? How are our connections with people who still need to see Jesus? What about having a group that challenges us in our beliefs? And I believe it's essential in life to have two groupings of close friends. One that will push us forward in our faith walk, and one that pushes against it. Let me expand. For me, I went to a Concordia college, and I got connected with some outstanding Christian peers whom I have been able to grow in my faith with. But during the same time that I was making these great friends, my friends from high school began to dissect their faith, and these guys, like me, went to a Lutheran K through 12 school, but now had sound reasons for what was disrupting their faith. My friends would tell me their honest thoughts about the Bible, its contradictions, evolution, the fossil records, and how immoral the Bible can be. And these were and are needed conversations that I was not fully getting before. With my Christian friends, I'd often get the softer versions of these questions, the ones that I already knew the answers to that don't allow me to think as deeply or critically. You see, we need our Christian friends who can support us, but we also need to be sharing the gospel with friends who have left it behind. Once we are actually challenged in our faith and check what we believe, our faith will be built up even stronger. Here's another example. Since coming to Peachtree City, I've had a great community of my church to support me, but I've also gotten really close to my neighbors in my apartment complex. Here, I've become really close with a group of young people like Rebecca, like Marcus and Kirsten and Abby. And together we make a more strange grouping of friends than Dwight and Jim. For example, the first thing that Kirsten ever asked me was, "When's your birthday?" And after I told her, the second thing she ever said was, "Oh, I don't know if I can be friends with the Leo. They backstab people." I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't backstab people. And it took some time for all of us to get warmed up to each other, but we eventually did. And I eventually got close to my close neighbor, Abby. Abby was close because she was right across the hall from me, and my goal was simple, to be her friend. Through this, we got to check and exchange music, watch football, challenge each other in our cooking abilities, which I crushed her, and I got to learn about her life, about her boyfriend in DC, her family, and her personal beliefs. Her parents grew up very religious, but they both decided that committing to religion wasn't for them, which meant that Abby's relationship with the church was minimal. And when spring had sprung around, we had all been talking about Easter, and Abby and two other friends mentioned they didn't have any plans. So I invited them to spend Easter morning with us at St. Paul. They were thrilled to get an invitation to church from their friend, but when Abby arrived at church, the people greeted her. Everyone was smiling except for Abby. The experience of walking into a new church to her was so stressful that she was visibly shaking. And I don't know if you've ever tried to hug a trembling adult before. It just kind of spreads the awkwardness around. So what we did is we had a quick huddle of what the service would look like, when to sit up, when to sit down, what to do during communion, etc. And we got everything except for one repeat of, "and also with you," which we laughed about, but overall, it was a great time. Brunch afterwards was delicious, and our religiously mixed group got to talk about the why behind church and how intimidating it can be not knowing what to do in a room full of other people that do. And it was helpful for me to have my church to go back to the next Sunday to talk about connections that I'm building with a group of people who see Jesus differently. Most of us listening already have this built-in community with our church. So the questions I hear the most that follow are, how do we find these people? And how do we talk to them? And I hate to say it, but these are both outrageous questions. And the reason they're outrageous is because they just overthink human connection. Christians, and myself included, often overthink about how to treat and talk to other people. Humans are too good at being able to tell when something is not genuine and from the heart. The world doesn't need civility. It needs Christians who care. The two ways that I gut check myself are by seeing if I am being intentional and vulnerable with the people around me. Intentionality is the most tangible of the two. Where are we and what are we doing? Are we staying inside of our home and our church most of the time? Is our Christian family the only people that we're talking to? And there are countless people nearby who we're missing out on learning from. These smelly people who we consciously and unconsciously avoid in the environments next to us make us uncomfortable, but that's okay. Think of the neighbor that doesn't say hi. Think about the city or the downtown of your city, the bars nearby. Jesus spent time with prostitutes and tax collectors, and their status hasn't changed. Most of us are nervous when talking to someone new. So nervous that we don't say anything at all. And this goes both ways. Most people want to initiate a conversation but are too nervous to. Everyone needs connection, so why don't we go and take the first step? Be the initiator. All we have to do is to say hello and to check in with the other person before we talk about ourselves. Or some of us don't even have to meet new people. We all have friends in our back pocket who have become too distant. Would you love it if they called you up and asked you how you're doing out of the blue? Why don't you do the same? After we've listened and loved, we should open up about ourselves. Being truly vulnerable with others isn't letting them know about how your deepest insecurities. Instead, we can start off with our little struggles. We know that Christ's grace is sufficient, therefore we can boast and be confident that our weaknesses are covered. After this, we can listen vulnerably. When someone gives their thoughts on an idea, a political opinion, or a theological difference, this is a great opportunity to learn something new. If we're not truly listening and letting their words impact us, we should not expect them to. A golden rule, per se, of how we can learn and be better disciples comes from a wise man who talked about loving your neighbor as ourselves. When we look at who Jesus was spending his time with, we see that he had a great group of Christian friends and people that were truly controversial. We see Jesus with some schemy tax collectors and dirty prostitutes. He ate with them, talked with them, and listened to them. He genuinely cared about these individuals. Jesus knew that people aren't projects. Jesus was intentional with his time and vulnerable with these people. He was vulnerable with these smelly people enough to be placed on a cross for them. This is what active discipleship looks like to me. I try to imitate this love with the people in my Christian group and non-Christian group unconditionally. I cannot be happier with how my relationships have been strengthened. I know that Abby, my high school friends, my college friends, will continue to have life-challenging conversations. And now I challenge you to make a new friend or to reach out for an old one. It's worth the risk.